Most Bible students and scholars believe that the events recorded in Matthew 26:17 through 30 took place on the Thursday during the Passion Week. Now, this Thursday was the beginning, the first day of a 7-day feast called the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And customarily, it was a time when the Jewish families would get together, they would observe the Passover, but on this day, they would be preparing their homes. They would be preparing the food for that Passover meal. Now, Christians, they began to regard Thursday of the Holy Week as a special time to participate in the Lord's Supper. It was a day of communion. And so the day became known as Maundy Thursday. That's Maundy Thursday. And Maundy in Latin means commandment. And Jesus was giving a new command on this Thursday. And so Jesus in John 13:34 through 35, he says, "Now I give you a new command." It's a new command that he was giving. Love each other. Just as I have loved you, you should love each other. And this was really a new command for the disciples. It was new in three ways. Really, loving wasn't new, but what was so new about it is he was calling them to a new focus. He wanted them to love one another, love the brothers and sisters in the church. Before, it was love your neighbors yourself. This time, it's love one another. Show a love to those in the church. There was also a new standard. It used to be love your neighbor as yourself. You were supposed to love as you would love yourself. Now he's saying, I want you to love as I love you. And that calls us to a much deeper type of love. It's a different yardstick that he's measuring our love by, and it's a different yardstick that we need to measure our love by. And then the third thing is there was a new outcome that he expected as we loved one another. He expected now that as we love one another in the church, those who were lost, those who are far from God, will look at the church and they'll see this different kind of love. And as they see this love, they will know that Jesus is real and that we are showing that we have a genuine love. We've been changed, we've been transformed by the love of Christ. And so it's a testimony to the world. It's a new kind of love. Now, on Thursday, he was preparing to celebrate, and he did celebrate the Passover with his disciples. And when he celebrated that Passover meal with his disciples, he made that new. He kind of transformed what the Passover meal would look like. Instead of it being as it typically had been during the Jewish time of Passover celebration, Jesus made it into what we call the Lord's Supper or communion. And there at the meal, he was very deliberate. He took a cup and he took some bread. And as he took these elements, he explained them this way. He said, "This is the new covenant. This is a new covenant that I have with you. Once before you were far from God. You couldn't have a close relationship with God, but this new covenant is going to enable you to have a real relationship with the Father." And so he says, this new covenant is going to be marked by this bread, which represents my body. This bread represents my body. It means that I came, God in flesh, I came to be among my people. I walked among my people, and the death that I die is for my people. And then he says that this cup represents my blood. It's a blood that's poured out for all people. It's a blood that's poured out for you. And what this blood represents is that you can now experience all of the righteousness of God. You can have the righteousness of Jesus in exchange for all of your sin. He would die a death that you deserved. And so this is a new covenant. You can have a relationship with the Father. Now, before the meal starts on that Thursday, he did something that was quite amazing, something that you would never see any other leader do. And that was he took off his outer garment and he came to his disciples, each one individually, to wash their feet. Well, what an example he is. He modeled for us this discipline of servanthood. And it's more than just a religious activity or a ritual that we do. We still participate in this, doing this during our communion service. But it was more than just a ritual for Jesus. He wanted to model for his disciples a way of life. He wanted to show them that servanthood is what makes you great in the kingdom of God. And so he instructs his disciples, as he instructs us today, serve one another. Do as I've done for you. And so Jesus, he models a lot of new things on that Thursday. This new way that we should love one another. This new covenant that God has made with us, a covenant that says we are sons and daughters of the living God. And he models for us a new way of understanding authority and leadership in his kingdom. And that comes down to servanthood, that we should serve everyone, no exceptions. And so this Maundy Thursday, I hope that you take the time to maybe reflect on some of these new things and maybe participate in some of these new things.